My chosen one, stop for a moment and breathe, because what you are about to hear is not random. It is not coincidence. It is not an accident that this message found you right now. God says you will cry for the rest of your life if you skip this. Yes, He is very serious, because you keep ignoring Him. He is tired of trying to contact you in ways you refuse to recognize. If you skip this, He says it will feel like you will never speak again. You only have seconds to decide. Open this immediately before 11:55 p.m. Don't skip God. This is not about fear. This is about urgency. For weeks, maybe even months, heaven hath been knocking. Not once, not twice, over and over. Through dreams that felt too real. Through sudden thoughts that interrupted your day. Through repeated numbers, unexpected delays, strange emotions you could not explain. You brushed them off as stress, as coincidence, as imagination. But what if it was not? Archangel Michael has been standing closer than you think. Sword lowered, not raised. Not to fight you, but to protect the message meant for you. There has been spiritual interference around your life. Distractions carefully placed. Noise strategically timed. Every time God tried to whisper, something pulled your attention away. And now heaven is done whispering. This is why the message sounds strong. This is why it feels direct. Because you are standing at a spiritual crossroads, and the clock is not symbolic. The time 11:55 p.m. is not random. It represents the final 5 minutes before a shift. The final warning before something closes. God is not threatening you. He is warning you. You have been asking for a sign. God, if you are real, show me. You have been saying, if this is from you, make it clear. You have been crying silently, why don't you answer me? But every time He answers, you scroll away. There is something specific about your house. The place you sleep. The place you think is safe. There is an atmosphere that has changed. You have felt it. A heaviness at certain hours. A strange tension for no visible reason. You blamed it on exhaustion. But listen carefully. Someone around you is not who they appear to be. A woman connected to your environment carries hidden intentions. Not necessarily evil in the way movies show it, but misaligned. Envy disguised as care. Control disguised as concern. Words that sound supportive but carry subtle manipulation. God has been trying to show you this truth gently, but you defended her. You justified her behavior. You told yourself you were overthinking. You are not overthinking. Archangel Michael has been guarding you from a conversation that would have broken you too soon. From information that would have overwhelmed you before you were ready. But now, the preparation phase is over. That is why the message feels urgent. If you skip this, it is not that God will never talk again. It is that your heart will grow harder. Each ignored call builds a layer. Each delay creates distance. And eventually, the silence you feel will not be because He stopped speaking. It will be because you stopped listening. And that is what leads to tears that last a lifetime. Regret is heavier than pain. There is a decision in front of you. It is not about watching a video. It is about alignment. It is about obedience in small moments. When heaven says pause, do you pause? When your spirit feels a nudge, do you follow? You only have seconds to decide, because obedience delayed becomes opportunity lost. Something is scheduled to shift in your life very soon. A revelation, an exposure, a truth coming into the light. And if you are not spiritually prepared before it happens, it will shake you deeply. That is why this warning is strong. God is tired, not of loving you, but of being ignored. Do you know how many times He redirected danger from your path without you knowing? How many arguments did not escalate because He intervened? How many plans against you failed silently? Archangel Michael has fought battles you never saw. But protection will not replace participation. Heaven guards, but you must respond. Before 11:55 p.m. symbolizes the final call before clarity. Before the clock resets. Before a chapter ends. If you feel urgency in your chest right now, that is not anxiety. That is your spirit recognizing truth. This is your moment. You can dismiss this as dramatic. You can tell yourself it is just another message. You can close it and move on. Or you can lean in. Because if you ignore this again, something inside you will begin to shut down. Not because God leaves, but because you choose distance. And distance creates silence. Right now, ask yourself honestly, why does this feel personal? Why does it feel like it is speaking directly to me? Because it is. You are not here by accident. The timing is intentional. The urgency is real. The warning is love in its most serious form. God is not playing. Archangel Michael is not positioned by chance. And you are not reading this randomly. The next moments matter more than you think. My faithful one, the reason this message feels intense is because the window you are standing in is narrow. Not forever closed, but narrowing. And heaven does not exaggerate when it speaks about timing. You have developed a habit of postponing divine nudges. I will pray later. I will change later. I will fix this later. But later has quietly become your greatest enemy. Every delay has slowly trained your heart to treat sacred moments as optional. And God is saying clearly now, this one is not optional. There is a pattern in your life. Think about it carefully. Every time something significant was about to shift, you felt a strange resistance. Sudden distractions. Random tiredness. Arguments out of nowhere. Your focus scattered. That was not coincidence. That was spiritual interference. And each time, you chose the distraction over the direction. Archangel Michael has been assigned to guard a breakthrough that belongs to you. But protection requires participation. He can clear the path, but you must walk it. He can silence the enemy, but you must open your mouth in prayer. He can expose deception, but you must accept the truth when it is revealed. This is why the warning sounds serious. Because this time, the exposure will not be small. The woman connected to your environment, the one you have felt unsure about, will soon reveal her true alignment. Not because you confront her, not because you accuse her, but because truth cannot stay hidden when heaven decides it is time. And when that moment comes, you will either feel prepared or shattered. God is trying to prepare you so that when the mask falls, you do not collapse with it. There is also something deeper. You have been emotionally attached to a version of reality that does not exist anymore. You keep hoping certain behaviors will change. You keep waiting for honesty that has already shown cracks. You keep telling yourself, maybe I misunderstood. But your spirit understood the first time. The reason you feel restless at night is not random anxiety. It is discernment knocking. And here is what is critical. If you ignore discernment long enough, it weakens. Not because it disappears, but because you train yourself not to trust it. That is the crying God is talking about. Not tears of punishment, but tears of regret. Regret that says, I knew. I felt it. But I did nothing. Right now, this is your interruption moment. A divine interruption. And I need to say something clearly. If this message is speaking to you, do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs spiritual clarity. Like this video so it reaches others who are ignoring their own warning signs. Comment what you are feeling, because your words might confirm someone else's situation. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this growing spiritual family. Join the membership if you feel called to go deeper. When you engage, you are not just supporting content, you are amplifying a message that could protect someone's destiny. Now listen carefully. There is a time stamp over your current season. It is not endless. The exposure coming is connected to your future stability. Financially, emotionally, spiritually. The house you are living in represents more than walls. It represents foundation. And foundations must be clean. Archangel Michael stands at the doorway not to create fear, but to enforce truth. He is holding back chaos until you are spiritually awake enough to handle what is about to surface. But heaven will not delay forever. You have seconds to decide because decisions are not measured in hours. They are measured in surrender. What will you do differently after hearing this? Will you pray tonight with seriousness instead of routine? Will you observe instead of blindly trusting? Will you ask God directly for confirmation and then stay still long enough to receive it? The clock approaching 11:55 p.m. is symbolic of urgency. 5 minutes before midnight. 5 minutes before transition. 5 minutes before what was hidden becomes visible. And here is the truth that may shake you. The greatest loss is not losing a person. It is losing discernment. If you feel a tightness in your chest as you hear this, that is your spirit aligning. If you feel resistance, that is your pride being challenged. But either way, you are being invited into clarity. Hold on, because what is about to be revealed next will connect the final pieces you have been missing. You will not see your current situation the same way again. My brave soul, what you are about to understand now is the part you were never meant to ignore. The surface message was urgency, but the deeper message is revelation. Heaven does not warn without reason, and it certainly does not repeat itself without purpose. The reason God said you would cry for the rest of your life if you skip this is not because He desires your pain. It is because He sees the full picture while you only see fragments. You are standing in the middle of a spiritual setup that looks ordinary on the outside but carries hidden consequences underneath. And if you keep dismissing the signs, you will later realize that every warning was clear. Archangel Michael has not only been guarding you from external harm, he has been guarding your perception. There were conversations you were not allowed to overhear yet. There were truths that would have emotionally crushed you if revealed too soon. There were intentions forming behind smiles that heaven delayed exposing because your heart was not ready. But now you are ready. Something has shifted in the spirit realm around your home. The atmosphere that once felt neutral now feels heavy at certain times for a reason. Pay attention to the hours when tension rises without explanation. Pay attention to subtle energy changes when certain individuals enter the room. These are not random emotional fluctuations. Your discernment has been activated. The woman connected to your environment is standing at the edge of exposure. Not necessarily through scandal or drama, but through inconsistency. Her words will soon contradict her actions in a way that cannot be ignored. A promise will be broken. A detail will not add up. A truth will slip accidentally. And when that moment happens, you will remember this message. You were warned because you are favored. Understand this clearly. Being warned is a sign of divine protection. Many people walk into betrayal without any preparation. But God is positioning you so that when truth surfaces, you stand steady instead of shattered. However, there is something even deeper. The tears mentioned in the beginning are not only about other people. They are about your own hesitation. You have delayed personal growth because you feared confrontation. You avoided spiritual discipline because comfort felt easier. You postponed difficult decisions because you hoped situations would fix themselves. Heaven is saying that avoidance is no longer an option. Archangel Michael stands symbolically at your spiritual doorway because a threshold moment has arrived. You are transitioning from blindness into clarity, and clarity demands courage. There is also a divine alignment happening behind the scenes. While one connection weakens, another opportunity is preparing to enter. While one mast falls, a new alliance will rise. But alignment requires space, and space requires truth. You cannot hold on to deception and expect elevation at the same time. The timestamp of 11:55 p.m. represents the final grace period before a cycle closes. 5 minutes before midnight is the space between warning and consequence, between revelation and reaction, between delay and decision. Ask yourself honestly, why does this feel like confirmation? Why does it echo thoughts you have already had privately? Because God has been speaking to you for longer than you realize. Through discomfort, through repeated patterns, through subtle red flags you kept excusing. The crying God mentioned is the pain of saying, "I knew better." It is the sorrow of realizing that obedience delayed cost you peace. And heaven does not want that to be your story. Right now, you are being given the privilege of preparation. Pray differently tonight. Not casually, not rushed. Ask directly for clarity about the woman in your environment. Ask for courage to accept what is revealed. Ask Archangel Michael to guard your emotions when exposure comes. And then watch carefully over the next few days. Something will confirm this. And when it does, you will not panic. You will not collapse. You will stand grounded because you were warned in advance. This is the mercy of God. Serious, direct, urgent mercy. If this message is aligning with your spirit, respond in faith. Type "I accept the truth" in the comments if this is speaking directly to you. Blessing code 4455 has just been released over those who choose courage over comfort. Now hear this final truth before this moment closes. Heaven is not chasing you anymore. It is inviting you. The difference is maturity. God will not force obedience. He will present opportunity. What you do with it defines the next season of your life. The doorway is open. The warning has been delivered. The protection is active. Choose alignment before midnight. As this revelation settles in your spirit, understand that this message is not just about your protection. It is about countless others who are standing at their own 11:55 p.m. moment. When you sow into this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are planting seeds into souls who need urgent warning. The Lord says to you, as you water others, I will water you. This is your first-person moment of obedience, your chance to say, I will not let this light stop with me. Every gift becomes oil in the lamp, fire on the altar, and bread for someone spiritually starving. Do not hesitate when heaven nudges you to act. Release your seed now and watch how God multiplies clarity, protection, and favor back into your own house. My attentive one, now that the warning has been planted in your spirit, the next layer must be uncovered carefully, because revelation without understanding can still be misused. And God does not reveal truth to create chaos in your life. He reveals it to restore order. There is a spiritual principle you must understand right now. Exposure is not destruction. Exposure is protection. When something hidden comes into the light, it feels uncomfortable. It can feel like loss. It can even feel like betrayal. But in reality, it is heaven removing what cannot go with you into your next season. Archangel Michael is not only a warrior, he is also a guardian of transitions. And you are in transition whether you fully recognize it or not. The reason everything feels heightened is because you are standing between two chapters. One chapter is familiar but unstable. The other chapter is unknown but aligned. The discomfort you have been feeling is not punishment. It is preparation. You have sensed distance from someone close to you. Conversations that once flowed now feel forced. Energy that once felt warm now feels cautious. You tried to fix it by being kinder, by being more patient, by overlooking small inconsistencies. But the truth is, your spirit has already detected a shift that your mind has been trying to deny. God is saying clearly that this shift was necessary. A woman, connected to your environment, is not randomly positioned in your story. He served a purpose for a season. Perhaps she was there to teach you discernment. Perhaps she was there to reveal patterns in yourself that needed healing. Perhaps she was there to show you how easily loyalty can be misplaced. But every season has an expiration date. The reason heaven gave you a time stamp is because delay creates deeper attachment. And attachment to misalignment becomes painful separation later. God would rather give you clarity now than let you build your future on unstable ground. You must also examine your own heart honestly. Have you ignored signs because you feared being alone? Have you silenced your intuition because confrontation makes you uncomfortable? Have you chosen temporary peace over permanent truth? These are not accusations. These are reflections. Archangel Michael stands symbolically at your doorway because boundaries are about to be established. And boundaries are holy. They are not rejection. They are protection. Something small is about to happen that will confirm everything you have felt. It may be a simple comment that reveals hidden resentment. It may be a financial detail that does not add up. It may be a conversation where her reaction exposes insecurity or envy. When it happens, do not react emotionally. Observe calmly. This is your confirmation moment. The reason God said you would cry if you skipped this is because missing confirmation leads to repeated cycles. You would re-enter similar relationships. You would overlook similar red flags. You would attract the same energy in different faces. Heaven is breaking a cycle in your life right now. And here is something powerful you must not miss. While one connection prepares to weaken, a divine connection is being positioned elsewhere. But divine connections require discernment. They require you to trust your spiritual senses instead of surface appearances. If you continue ignoring your inner warning system, you may accidentally reject what is good while defending what is harmful. This is why the urgency was real. The clock approaching midnight represents the closing of a cycle of ignorance. You are stepping into awareness, and awareness changes everything. You will notice that after this message, your sensitivity will increase. You will pick up on tones more quickly. You will sense tension faster. You will feel guided to pray at unusual times. Do not ignore these nudges. They are signs that your discernment is sharpening. Archangel Michael's role in your life right now is not dramatic or theatrical. It is strategic. He is guarding your emotional stability during this transition. But stability also requires discipline. Do not gossip. Do not accuse prematurely. Do not reveal that you are aware. Let truth expose itself naturally. Silence is power when guided by wisdom. There is also something happening internally. You are being invited to mature spiritually. No more passive faith. No more casual prayers. No more waiting for others to validate what you already sense. This is the season where you trust what God shows you even if no one else confirms it. And when the exposure happens, you will not celebrate. You will not feel pride. You will feel peace. Because peace comes from clarity. Remember this deeply. God is not removing people to hurt you. He is rearranging your environment to protect your destiny. Tonight, pray specifically for courage. Pray for emotional balance. Pray that when the moment of revelation arrives, you respond with dignity instead of reaction. This is not the end of something beautiful. It is the end of something misaligned. And once misalignment is cleared, acceleration begins. Your tears will not be from regret. They will be from relief. Stay attentive. The confirmation is closer than you think. My steadfast listener, what is unfolding around you is more calculated than you realize. Not calculated by fear, not orchestrated by chaos, but arranged by divine precision. When God says you only have seconds to decide, He is not measuring time the way humans measure it. He is measuring responsiveness. He is measuring the space between conviction and action. There has been a tug-of-war happening in your spirit. One side is comfort. The other side is truth. Comfort tells you to keep things as they are, to avoid disruption, to maintain appearances. Truth tells you something is off balance. Something is misaligned. Something cannot move forward the way it currently stands. And you have been standing in between. Archangel Michael's presence around your life right now represents spiritual enforcement. Not aggression. Not punishment. Enforcement. Meaning, what God has declared over your future will not be sabotaged by hidden influences. What is meant for your elevation will not be quietly drained by subtle manipulation. You have felt pain lately. Not physically alone, but emotionally. After certain conversations, you feel heavy. After certain interactions, your motivation decreases. After certain visits inside your own home, your peace feels disturbed. You told yourself it was stress, but deep down, you knew it was something more. Energy does not lie. Atmosphere does not lie. Discernment does not lie. The woman connected to your environment has been operating from insecurity more than you realized. Insecurity often disguises itself as care. It offers advice that subtly redirects you. It plants small seeds of doubt. It asks questions that seem innocent but are designed to gather information. You overlook these details because you value loyalty, because you believe in giving chances, because you do not want to assume the worst. But discernment is not assumption. It is perception guided by the Spirit. God has been patient with you because your heart is genuine. But now patience has shifted into instruction. You are being instructed to observe carefully, to speak less and listen more, to reveal less and discern more. There is a moment approaching where you will be tested. Not tested in faith, but tested in reaction. Something will be said that exposes motive. Something will happen that confirms misalignment. In that moment, your response will determine whether the cycle fully breaks or quietly continues. If you react with emotion, the cycle stretches. If you respond with calm clarity, the cycle ends. This is why preparation was necessary. The time stamp before midnight symbolizes the final stage before reset. Midnight is not just an ending. It is also a beginning. But what crosses into the new day must be purified. And purification sometimes looks like separation. You must also understand that not every exposure requires confrontation. Some exposures are meant only for awareness. Once you see clearly, your behavior naturally adjusts. You share less. You trust differently. You set boundaries without announcement. Archangel Michael's sword in symbolism represents cutting unhealthy ties. But cutting does not always mean dramatic exits. Sometimes it means internal detachment, a shift in access, a reduction of influence. God is teaching you strategic distance. The crying he warned about was not theatrical. It was the silent sorrow of repeated lessons, the exhaustion of learning the same truth through different faces, the weight of realizing that intuition was ignored too many times. Heaven is ending that pattern now. There is also a blessing hidden inside this exposure. When misaligned energy leaves your space, clarity increases. When subtle manipulation is removed, confidence returns. When hidden tension dissolves, creativity flows again. You will notice that once this shift completes, your sleep improves, your focus sharpens, your prayer life deepens. Because peace thrives in clean atmospheres, you not feel guilty for outgrowing certain dynamics. Growth will always make someone uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from your unawareness. But your maturity is not betrayal, it is evolution. Archangel Michael stands firm because your next season requires spiritual strength. You are stepping into a phase where leadership, responsibility, and visibility increase, and you cannot carry hidden instability into higher levels. The urgency of this message was love wrapped in seriousness. Love that refuses to let you drift into regret. Love that interrupts comfort to secure destiny. Over the next few days, watch carefully. Patterns will repeat in smaller ways before the larger confirmation arrives. Pay attention to tone changes. Pay attention to inconsistent stories. Pay attention to subtle competitiveness masked as humor. You will not need to search for proof. It will surface naturally. And when it does, do not feel shock. Feel gratitude. Gratitude that you were warned. Gratitude that you listened. Gratitude that your tears were prevented instead of prolonged. This is the moment where ignorance ends and awareness begins. Stand steady. Speak wisely. Observe quietly. The midnight reset is approaching, and you are being positioned to cross over lighter than you have ever been. My awakened one, now the atmosphere around you is shifting in ways that are subtle but undeniable. You may not see dramatic changes yet, but internally something has clicked. The fog that once covered your perception is thinning. Situations you tolerated are now irritating. Conversations you once entertained now feel unnecessary. This is not moodiness. This is spiritual sharpening. When God said you only had seconds to decide, it was about this very shift. The moment you chose to lean in instead of scroll away, something in the spirit realm responded. Alignment began. Protection intensified. Discernment activated at a higher level. Archangel Michael does not step closer without reason. His nearness signals enforcement of divine order. You have entered a period where truth will move faster than comfort. A woman connected to your environment is beginning to sense distance. Not because you announced it. Not because you confronted her. But because energy recognizes withdrawal. When access to your inner world decreases, those who relied on it feel unsettled. You may notice all attempts to regain control. Extra curiosity. Sudden kindness. Unexpected emotional reactions. Watch these shifts carefully. This is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is about honoring what God has revealed. There is also a deeper transformation happening inside you. You are learning that obedience is not dramatic. It is quiet and consistent. It is choosing prayer over panic. It is choosing observation over accusation. It is choosing self-control over emotional release. Archangel Michael's role right now is stabilizing your emotions, because exposure without stability can create unnecessary conflict. Heaven wants resolution, not chaos. Clarity, not confusion. You may feel tempted to test what you know, to drop hints, to provoke a reaction just to confirm your intuition. Do not do it. Truth does not need assistance. It services on its own timing. Your responsibility is preparation, not exposure. At the same time, understand this clearly: once confirmation arrives, delay is no longer wisdom. Some of you have a habit of receiving clarity but still postponing action. You say you need more time, more evidence, more signs, but sometimes extra time only deepens entanglement. This season is teaching you decisive maturity. If this message has been speaking directly to your situation, do not stay silent. Like this video so others who are in spiritual confusion can find clarity. Share it with someone who has been ignoring warning signs in their own environment. Comment what you have been sensing, because your experience could unlock courage in someone else. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a community that values discernment and growth. If you feel called to go deeper, join the membership and stand with this mission. Your engagement strengthens the reach of messages that protect destinies. Now listen carefully. Here is something significant approaching your home environment. Not an event of destruction, but a conversation of revelation. Words will be spoken that cannot be taken back. Tone will expose what politeness once covered. And in that moment, you will feel two emotions at the same time: disappointment and relief. Disappointment because your hope for change will fade. Relief because uncertainty will end. Archangel Michael's symbolic sword represents cutting through illusion. Illusion is more dangerous than open conflict because it creates false security. Once illusion dissolves, reality may feel sharp, but it is honest. God is not removing people randomly. He is refining your circle intentionally. Your next season requires trust that is mutual, not one-sided. Support that is genuine, not strategic. Loyalty that is consistent, not conditional. The time stamp before midnight is now closer than it was when you first heard this message. Not because of the clock on your wall, but because of the readiness in your spirit. You are no longer blind. You are no longer dismissing signs. You are watching with wisdom. And here is the powerful truth: once awareness increases, manipulation loses power. You may also notice that your prayers feel different, more focused, more direct, less emotional and more intellectual. This is growth. This is spiritual adulthood. You are no longer praying for vague peace. You are praying for specific clarity. Over the next hours and days, remain calm. Do not announce what you know. Let patterns repeat naturally. Let truth expose itself without pressure. When it does, respond with dignity. And remember this deeply: losing access to you is not your failure. It is the consequence of misalignment. There is more unfolding ahead, something you may not expect, something connected to opportunity. But first, the environment must be cleared. Keep listening carefully, because what is about to unfold next will tie everything together in a way that will leave no room for doubt. My discerning one, by now you can feel that this is no longer just a warning. It is a transition manual. You are not being alerted for fear. You are being trained for elevation. The moment you chose not to ignore this message, you stepped into a higher level of spiritual awareness. And with awareness comes responsibility. Something has already started changing in your behavior. You speak less about your plans. You reveal fewer details about your emotions. You are watching instead of reacting. That shift alone has already altered the dynamic around you. A woman connected to your environment senses it. Even if she cannot explain it, she feels that her access is shrinking. When access changes, true intentions surface. Archangel Michael's presence around your life now represents guarded territory. Your mind is becoming protected ground. Your home is becoming protected ground. Your future is becoming protected ground. And not everyone who once walked freely in your space will be permitted the same influence. You may begin noticing small attempts to test you. Subtle questions designed to see how much you still trust. Light sarcasm masked as humor. Comments that measure your reaction. These are not random behaviors. They are indicators of shifting power. The reason heaven warned you before exposure is because emotional shock can lead to poor decisions. When truth arrives suddenly without preparation, people react out of hurt instead of wisdom. But you have been prepared. You are being strengthened in advance. There is something else you must recognize. The situation around you is not only about another person. It is also about your identity. For too long, you have carried the role of peacemaker, the understanding one, the patient one, the one who absorbs tension to avoid conflict. But peacekeeping without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. God is restoring balance inside you. You are learning that love does not require blindness. Kindness does not require silence. Patience does not require tolerance of misalignment. This lesson is not just for this relationship. It is for your future partnerships, your future leadership roles, your future household decisions. Archangel Michael symbolizes courage under pressure. Not aggression, but unwavering clarity. And that clarity is now settling into you. There will be a moment very soon when a contradiction becomes undeniable. A story told previously will not match new information. A promise once emphasized will quietly be broken. A reaction will reveal insecurity that was once hidden. In that instant, everything you have sensed will align into one clear understanding. Do not confront in anger. Do not expose in pride. Simply adjust access. Sometimes the most powerful response is controlled distance. God mentioned tears in the beginning because ignoring patterns leads to prolonged pain. But now you are breaking that pattern. Instead of waiting for undeniable damage, you are acting at undeniable clarity. This is maturity. You may feel moments of sadness as you realize that what you hoped for will not materialize. Allow yourself to feel it without dramatizing it. Grief over illusion is still grief, but it is temporary. Relief follows quickly behind it. Your environment is being cleansed, not physically but spiritually. Once misalignment exits, you will notice an increase in focus, an increase in creative ideas, an increase in spiritual sensitivity. It will feel like fresh air entering a closed room. There is also an opportunity connected to this clearing. A door that could not open while certain energies were present. You have been waiting for progress in one specific area of your life. Career, finances, personal growth, or even relocation. That delay was connected to environment stability. Heaven does not build on unstable foundations. Archangel Michael has been guarding that opportunity until your surroundings were secure enough to sustain it. The urgency about time was not only about exposure. It was about acceleration. Once this cycle closes, momentum increases. Decisions that once felt heavy will become obvious. Invitations that once seemed distant will suddenly appear. You are not losing. You are being repositioned. Over the next interactions, remain composed. Speak respectfully but firmly. Observe more than you explain. Silence can reveal more than confrontation ever could. Remember this deeply. Clarity is a gift. even when it changes relationships. The midnight reset is always complete. You are crossing into a version of yourself that trusts discernment over emotion, wisdom over comfort, alignment over attachment. Stay steady. What is about to unfold next will confirm that this was never random. It was strategic protection from the very beginning. My resilient one, you are now standing in the exact moment heaven was preparing you for. The atmosphere feels different, does it not? Conversations feel loaded. Silence feels louder. Even simple interactions carry weight. This is not your imagination. This is culmination. Everything that was hinted at is now lining into visibility. A woman connected to your environment is beginning to reveal what was once carefully concealed. It may not explode dramatically. It may unfold through something subtle yet undeniable. A misplaced confidence, a careless statement, an emotional overreaction that exposes hidden resentment. And when it happens, you will feel a strange calm instead of chaos. That calm is confirmation. Archangel Michael's guarding presence has shifted from warning mode to enforcement mode. What was hidden is no longer protected by delay. It is being brought forward because you are strong enough to handle it now. You are not the same person you were weeks ago. You are not naive. You are not dismissive of your intuition anymore. You are aware. There is something powerful about awareness. It does not need validation from others. It does not require public acknowledgement. It simply adjusts behavior and moves forward with wisdom. And that is exactly what you are being called to do. When exposure completes, you may notice an attempt to reverse the narrative. Blame may be shifted subtly. Emotions may be used to regain sympathy. But you must remain centered. Do not be pulled back into confusion. Once truth surfaces, do not negotiate with illusion. God did not bring you this far to return you to blindness. The tears that were mentioned in the beginning are no longer your destiny. They were a warning of what would happen if you continued ignoring signs. But you did not ignore them this time. You leaned in. You listened. You prepared. Now relief replaces regret. There is also a divine exchange taking place. As misalignment exits, favor enters. As manipulation fades, clarity increases. As tension dissolves, peace stabilizes. You will feel lighter in ways you cannot fully explain to others. Sleep will deepen. Thoughts will quiet. Decision-making will become easier. This is what spiritual cleansing feels like. Archangel Michael stands as witness to your growth. The battle was never about fighting someone physically. It was about conquering self-doubt. It was about defeating the habit of ignoring your own discernment. It was about breaking the cycle of second-guessing what God already showed you. And you have won that internal battle. But listen carefully. The story does not end with exposure. It transitions into elevation. There is a new alignment approaching your life. A connection that does not drain but strengthens. An opportunity that does not confuse but confirms. A partnership that does not compete but supports. However, elevation requires gratitude. If this message has guided you through clarity, do not keep it to yourself. Type "I walk in clarity" in the comments if you receive this shift. Blessing code 8811 is now activated over those who choose truth over comfort. Now understand something deeper. The midnight reference was not about fear. It was about divine timing. A cycle had to close before a new one could open. And that closure is happening now in real time. You may not see fireworks, but you feel resolution. You feel finality. You feel that something has ended quietly but completely. This is protection in its mature form. Heaven does not need to create chaos to move you forward. Sometimes it simply reveals what was already unstable and allows you to step away with dignity. As you stand in this clarity, remember that your obedience unlocked this outcome. You could have scrolled. You could have dismissed. You could have delayed again. But you did not. And because you responded, regret has been replaced with wisdom. Hold this moment with humility. Do not mock what was revealed. Do not boast about being right. Simply be thankful that you were warned in time. As this chapter closes and clarity settles over your house, understand that your response today becomes light for someone else tomorrow. When you release a super thanks, step into membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are planting seeds into souls who are standing at their own midnight decision. The Lord declares, as you sow into truth, I will cause harvest to rise in your fields. This is your first-person act of alignment, your moment to say, I will fuel the fire that protected me. Every offering becomes oil that keeps this lamp burning for those lost in confusion. Do not hesitate when the Spirit prompts you. Activate your seed now and watch how heaven multiplies peace, protection, and provision back into your life. My transformed one, now that exposure has taken place and clarity has settled into your spirit, you may be wondering why this entire process felt so intense. Why did it require urgency? Why did it feel like heaven was pressing you so strongly? The answer is simple but profound, because this was not only about one person. It was about breaking a spiritual pattern that has followed you for years. Look back carefully over your past. This is not the first time you sensed misalignment and ignored it. This is not the first time your intuition whispered before evidence appeared. This is not the first time you gave extended grace to someone who quietly drained your energy. The faces were different. The circumstances were different. But the pattern was the same. Heaven was not only exposing a woman. Heaven was exposing a cycle. Archangel Michael's presence in this season symbolized a decisive break. A spiritual declaration that what repeated in your past will not repeat in your future. But cycles do not break automatically. They break when awareness meets action. And this time, you acted differently. Instead of silencing your discernment, you honored it. Instead of defending questionable behavior, you observe it. Instead of clinging to comfort, you chose clarity. That shift has altered your spiritual trajectory more than you realize. You may feel a quiet emptiness now. Not pain, not chaos, but space. Space where confusion once lived. Space where tension once sat. Do not rush to fill this space. It is sacred. It is the breathing room your spirit has needed for a long time. This empty space is preparation ground. Here is something new approaching your life, but it cannot attach to old instability. Divine connections require spiritual hygiene. Opportunities that elevate you require emotional discipline. Leadership in any form requires discernment sharpened through experience. You are being upgraded. Archangel Michael's role now is not defensive but strategic. The protection that once guarded you from hidden motives is now guarding your next opportunity from premature exposure. There are blessings forming that cannot yet be announced. There are shifts aligning that require quiet growth. This is why you must remain composed. The woman who was exposed may attempt subtle re-entry later. Not aggressively, but gently. Time will pass. Emotions will settle. Familiarity may try to return. But remember this moment of clarity. Remember how your spirit felt before confirmation. Remember the heaviness you carried when you doubted yourself. Do not romanticize what God revealed clearly. One of the most dangerous things after exposure is nostalgia. Nostalgia edits memory. It highlights good moments and minimizes red flags. It softens manipulation into misunderstanding. But wisdom keeps records accurately. You are not called to hate anyone. You are called to learn. God's warning at the beginning was strong because the cost of repeating this pattern would have been heavier next time. The stakes were increasing. The next cycle would not only affect your emotions, it could have touched your finances, your reputation, or your future household stability. Heaven intervened early. At His mercy. You may also notice that your confidence is growing quietly. You are speaking with more certainty. You are making decisions faster. You are second-guessing yourself less. This is the fruit of discernment trusted. There is something else happening internally. Your prayer life is shifting from crisis-driven to wisdom-driven. Instead of asking God to fix what hurts, you are asking Him to sharpen your perception before hurt arrives. That is spiritual maturity. Archangel Michael stands symbolically behind you now, not in front. Not because protection has left, but because you are no longer blind to what approaches. You are walking with awareness. Over the coming days, expect subtle confirmations that you made the right choice. Small signs of peace. Unexpected encouragement. Opportunities that open smoothly. These are signals that alignment hath been restored. Do not rush the next connection that enters your life. Test consistency over time. Observe patterns before granting deep access. You have learned that access is privilege, not entitlement. The midnight warning that once felt intense now feels justified. If you had ignored it, you would still be entangled in uncertainty. You would still be negotiating with intuition. You would still be postponing clarity. Instead, you are standing in freedom. This is not the end of your growth. It is the foundation of it. Something greater is approaching. Something that requires the version of you that trusts discernment without apology. Stay steady. The final layer of this message will reveal why this entire process was connected to something much bigger than you initially thought. My focused one, what you are about to understand now will stretch your perception beyond relationships and into destiny. Everything that has unfolded was not just about removing a misaligned presence. It was about preparing you for visibility. Yes, visibility. You are entering a season where your voice will matter more. Your decisions will influence more. Your presence will carry weight in rooms you have not yet stepped into. And hidden instability would have sabotaged that elevation quietly. God does not promote without purification. He does not increase influence without strengthening discernment. The urgency you felt at the beginning was connected to timing. There was an opportunity aligned with your name that required a clean atmosphere. A recommendation, a partnership, a leadership role, a financial shift, or even a relocation possibility. But heaven knew that divided loyalty and hidden tension would weaken your judgment at a critical moment. Archangel Michael's guarding presence ensured that exposure happened before opportunity arrived. You may soon receive news that feels sudden but overdue. An invitation. A conversation that opens doors. An unexpected acknowledgement of your ability. When it comes, do not question whether you are ready. You are ready because the internal cleanup has already happened. What once distracted you no longer holds the same power. What once confused you now appears obvious. That clarity is not accidental. It is preparation for responsibility. There is also something deeper you must hear. When people sense your elevation, not everyone will celebrate it. The woman who was exposed may react differently when she realizes your life is advancing. Sometimes insecurity becomes louder when comparison increases. But you must remain grounded. Do not shrink to maintain comfort for others. You did not go through this process to return to smallness. Archangel Michael symbolizes courage and advancement, moving forward without apology, rising without arrogance, standing firm without hostility. That balance is now forming inside you. As this message continues to unfold, if you recognize the growth that has taken place in you, do not keep silent. Like this video so that others preparing for elevation can receive this confirmation. Share it with someone standing at their own crossroads of discernment. Comment how this process has shifted your thinking, because your testimony may awaken someone still doubting their intuition. Subscribe to this channel if you are committed to spiritual growth and clarity. Join the membership if you are ready to walk consistently in higher awareness. Your engagement strengthens a community that values wisdom over comfort. Now listen closely. The tears God warned about were never meant to define your future. They were a warning of stagnation. But instead of stagnating, you evolved. Instead of ignoring, you responded. Instead of defending illusion, you embraced truth. Because of that, the trajectory of your next 12 months has shifted. There is acceleration attached to obedience. When you respond quickly to divine correction, delays shorten. Doors open faster. Alignment happens smoother. You may notice that things which once required struggle now unfold with surprising ease. Do not sabotage this ease by reintroducing old patterns. The woman who once had access may attempt to reestablish connection once she notices distance. Be polite but firm. Do not reopen doors that God closed through clarity. Compassion does not require reattachment. You are being trained to steward your environment intentionally. Another truth must be spoken clearly. Your growth will inspire some and intimidate others. That is not your responsibility to manage. Your responsibility is to remain aligned. Archangel Michael's symbolic sword is not meant to attack, but to maintain boundaries. Boundaries are the framework of elevation. Very soon, you will face a decision that confirms everything. A choice between familiarity and advancement. Between what feels safe and what requires courage. In that moment, remember this entire journey. Remember the heaviness you once carried. Remember the relief that came after exposure. Let that memory guide your decision. There is more ahead than behind you. The midnight urgency was not about fear of loss. It was about readiness for increase. And increase demands space, clarity, and strength. Keep watching carefully over the next days. The final layer of this revelation will connect your personal breakthrough to a larger spiritual assignment you did not expect. And when you see it, you will understand why ignoring this message would have cost you more than you imagined. My prepared one, now you are close to understanding the full weight of why this message came with such urgency. It was never only about protection from betrayal. It was never only about exposure within your home. It was about assignment. You have an assignment on your life that requires spiritual sharpness. Not perfection, but awareness. Not isolation, but discernment. And the reason heaven intervened so firmly is because distraction was about to delay destiny. There is a calling on you to influence others in ways you have not fully embraced yet. It may not look like a stage or a microphone. It may look like leadership in your workplace, guidance within your family, stability in your community, wisdom among friends. But influence is influence, whether public or private. Hidden instability weakens influence. Archangel Michael's presence throughout this entire process has represented more than protection. It has represented commissioning. In spiritual symbolism, he does not only guard against harm, he stands beside those stepping into responsibility. And you are stepping into responsibility. Think carefully. Before this warning came, You were divided internally. You sensed something was off, but you suppressed it. You prayed casually, but you did not listen deeply. You tolerated subtle discomfort to avoid confrontation. That version of you could not carry greater weight without eventually collapsing under pressure. And now you are different. Now you observe carefully. You pray intentionally. You move strategically. You trust discernment without apology. That transformation is the real miracle here. The woman who was exposed played a role in sharpening you. Not because her intentions were pure, but because her misalignment forced you to confront your passivity. You learned that ignoring small red flags leads to larger instability. You learned that comfort can quietly sabotage clarity. You learned that access must be earned, not assumed. These lessons are foundational for your next chapter. There is something approaching your life that requires you to speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. It may be a conversation where others are being misled. It may be a situation where silence would protect you but harm someone else. It may be an opportunity where your integrity is tested. Because you passed the season of discernment, you will recognize that moment when it arrives. Archangel Michael's sword is symbolic of truth that divides illusion from reality. That same truth is now forming in your speech. You will notice that when you talk, your words carry more weight. People listen differently. Your advice lands deeper. This is not ego. This is authority refined through experience. But hear this carefully. Authority must remain humble. Do not allow clarity to turn into superiority. Do not allow growth to turn into judgment. Remember how easily you once ignored your own intuition. Extend grace to others who are still learning. Your strength should protect, not intimidate. The urgency about midnight was also connected to timing beyond your understanding. There was a spiritual window that required your awareness before something larger unfolded. Had you remained distracted, you would have missed cues connected to opportunity and responsibility. But because you responded, alignment was secured. You may soon find yourself guiding someone else through a similar situation. Someone confiding in you about misalignment. Someone doubting their own discernment. When that moment comes, you will not speak from theory. You will speak from lived clarity. That is assignment. There is also a restoration taking place inside your home environment. Peace feels more stable now. The heaviness has reduced. Conversations feel lighter. Even the physical space may seem different. This is not imagination. Spiritual tension has lifted. Continue protecting that atmosphere. Pray intentionally within your space. Be mindful of who you grant emotional access to. Stability is not accidental. It is maintained. Very soon, confirmation of your elevation will become visible. A door opening that once felt blocked. Recognition that once felt delayed. Movement where there was stagnation. When it happens, remember this journey. Remember that clarity preceded increase. The tears God warned about were replaced with wisdom because you listened in time. Stay alert. The final revelation will tie your personal breakthrough to a divine calling larger than you imagined. And when you hear it, you will understand that this entire experience was not interruption. It was preparation for impact. I victorious one. This is the moment where everything connects. From the first urgent warning to the final layer of understanding, you have walked through a spiritual shift that changed more than one relationship. To change you. And that is what heaven was after from the beginning. When God said, "You will cry for the rest of your life if you skip this," it was not emotional manipulation. It was prophetic insight. He saw a version of your future where repeated patterns hardened your heart, weakened your discernment, and delayed your calling. He saw unnecessary regret forming years ahead, and in his mercy, he interrupted you. The urgency was love in its most serious form. A woman who was exposed was never the ultimate focus. She was the catalyst. The real mission was to awaken you, to strengthen you, to mature you, to prepare you for influence, leadership, and stability that requires spiritual sharpness. Archangel Michael's presence throughout this journey symbolized divine enforcement over your destiny. What is written over your life cannot be casually sabotaged by distraction, manipulation, or emotional blindness. But you had to participate. You had to choose awareness. You had to decide before midnight. And you did. Now look at yourself honestly. You are no longer the person who ignores inner warnings. You are no longer the one who confuses discomfort with overthinking. You are no longer willing to sacrifice clarity for temporary peace. A transformation alone has altered the direction of your life. The crying that was once a possibility hath been replaced with confidence. You have learned that discernment is protection, that boundaries are holy, that access to your heart and home is privilege, not entitlement. These lessons will guard your future marriage, your finances, your leadership, your friendships, and your spiritual authority. Here is something powerful about the timing of this message. The reference to 11:55 p.m. symbolized the final grace window before a cycle closed. 5 minutes before midnight represents decision under pressure, obedience under urgency, faith without full evidence. You chose correctly. Because of that choice, a greater assignment now rests on you. Not to become suspicious of everyone, not to isolate yourself, but to walk as someone awake, someone steady, someone who listens when God whispers instead of waiting for him to shout. Archangel Michael now stands not in warning, but in affirmation. The battle was not against a person. It was against passivity. And passivity have been defeated. Moving forward, protect what you have gained. Do not return to old tolerance patterns. Do not reopen doors that clarity closed. Do not allow nostalgia to rewrite reality. Growth must be guarded. And hear this clearly, more will be entrusted to you. Opportunities will expand. Influence will increase. Responsibility will rise. But you are ready because you are refined. A midnight moment passed, and instead of regret, you stepped into renewal. If this message has marked a turning point in your spirit, respond boldly. Type "I will not ignore God" again in the comments if you seal this shift today. Blessing code 9900 is now released over those who choose obedience over delay. Now receive this final truth. You were not randomly scrolling. You were summoned. And because you answered, your story shifted. Carry this awareness forward. Let it shape your decisions. Let it protect your peace. Let it elevate your calling. Heaven spoke. You listen. And that is why your future just changed. As you seal this obedience and step fully into alignment, understand that this message was never meant to stop with you. When you release a super thanks, join the membership, or so through the PayPal link in the description, you are becoming a vessel that carries this warning to someone standing at their own 11:55 p.m. The Lord declares over you, give, and it shall be given back to you, pressed down and overflowing. This is your first-person moment to say, I will fund the fire that awakened me. Every seed you release becomes light in someone else's darkness, oil in their lamp before midnight strikes. Do not delay this act of obedience. So now, support this mission boldly and watch how God multiplies protection, clarity, and increase back into your life.